This is One-on-One with Alex Kirsch, a podcast where I bring on one guest to talk about specific topics, whether they are political, social, economic, criminal, specific, sports, or even entertainment. All questions have been given to the guest beforehand. There are no tricks, and everything here is in good faith. Today's topic, we're going to do a little bit of reflection. Well, the 2024 election is over, and Donald Trump will take the oath of office again in less than a week. There are still many discussions and finger-pointing that went on after he won the election. There's one specific person that I wish to have weigh in on a demographic that I felt that some feel that the Harrison Walz campaign and the Democratic Party didn't listen to enough: the Muslim population. Now, here to speak on this issue is a new guest of the platform, SocioLLogic. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, buddy?
How you doing, man? I go by SocioLLogic. You can find me on all the internet things: Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. Well, it'll be banned soon, so red note. But yeah, I'm on the internet. I'm been on a few debate panels. It's how me and you met, and I'm looking forward to getting into this discussion.
What's Red Note anyway? I've been hearing talk about that. What is that anyway?
Red Note is the new social media app, the Chinese directly owned. Right, it is. It's the answer to the TikTok ban. Everyone found the most CCP app that they could. They transferred right on over there. They're learning Mandarin. It is insane. It is insane what's happening on the internet right now.
Sounds like it. Okay. And do you stream right now, or not much right now, or do you just kind of jump on panels when they're available?
Right now, I just jump on panels. I do Monday nights with Prime with the Reverie, and then Gibbs has me on every now and then, Lethe every now and then. So it's just jumping, but I'm about to start streaming soon. I got the whole setup going, so yeah.
Same here, absolutely. So, all right. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into the opening statement. So, all right. So, the election of 2024 took a lot of people off guard, considering how many in this country know for a fact that Donald Trump is, in my opinion, the most corrupt person and the most divisive person, in my honest opinion, to be the president of the United States. He is spiteful, divisive, antagonistic, and I do believe he will exact revenge upon those he deems as the enemy of the state. His enemies, that is. Now, I could be wrong, but this is based upon what I already know of him. But today's discussion is not about Donald Trump. It is about the Democratic Party. We have done a lot of self-reflection from this post-election cycle, but I think we are looking at it from all the wrong reasons. Something selecting Tim Walz was a poor choice of VP. Something Joe Biden dropped out way too late, or Kamala had a poor strategy for her campaign. Now, while some of these aspects have merit, there's one thing that we have not taken into consideration. The Democratic Party in the last few decades, I consider, has been a party of great progress. We haven't always succeeded, but I do believe that we, the Democratic Party, have tried. Far more than I can say for the Republican Party. During this election cycle, during the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, Illinois, the Democratic Party had many guest speakers, which consisted of former presidents, their first ladies, union workers, Gold Star families, and law enforcement officials, especially the current sheriff of Genesee County, Christopher Swanson. They spoke about equality and fairness, fair pay, and maternity leave. Healthcare for all was a big talking point as well. One issue, however, seemed to get glossed over: the genocide in Palestine. Yes, I say genocide. To say it isn't a genocide is to deny what is happening to millions of people in that region. Yes, we condemn the awful attacks on October the 7th. What has happened afterwards pales in comparison. Men, women, and children have been brutally murdered, kidnapped, tortured, raped, starved, displaced, and burned to ashes, and some are left to freeze to death out in the open. Their homes have been demolished, and Israeli soldiers are stealing the valuables of the Palestinians and claiming them for their own. These are all realities, but for some reason, while many of us on the Democratic side do see this happening, why was nobody allowed to speak for the Palestinians at the DNC? Was it going to mysteriously alienate those who are of Israeli descent? Are we afraid of alienating AIPAC? Now, there are many people of Israeli origin that condemn what is happening and condemn the actions of the Israeli military and the Israeli government, to include Benjamin Netanyahu. We have no problem calling the Rwandan genocide a genocide. We had no problem calling it a genocide when Bosnian Serb General Ratko Mladic, when he executed thousands of Muslim Bosnian men and boys. When Saudi Arabia, our ally, I say again, our ally, was committing war crimes in Yemen and starved the people of Yemen, we had no problem labeling that as a genocide. One that we were funding. I don't think we're funding it anymore, though. What is happening in Palestine is a genocide, and the Democrats had the opportunity to bring on someone who had been directly affected by these events, and they didn't deliver. The Democrats even have a congresswoman, Rashida Tlaib, who is of Palestinian descent, and she wasn't given the chance to speak. Optics is everything. Now, this caused many in the Muslim community to not vote for the Harris Walz tickets. Even those that aren't even Muslim, that are against the genocide in Palestine chose not to vote on the Democratic ticket, even though I'd done so in prior elections. Jill Stein, who ran the Green Party ticket, somebody who was strictly against the genocide in Gaza and wants Benjamin Netanyahu to be prosecuted for war crimes, made a point to say, if you don't vote for the Green Party, vote for Donald Trump. There were people in the Muslim community, especially the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, who refused to vote for Harris Walz. I could find more examples, but I think we all kind of get the idea. Now, before we go into the discussion, I want to make myself abundantly clear. I do not blame the Muslim community, whether they're of Arab, Persian, Indonesian, Malaysian descent, what have you, all those communities. I will not condone those who will point fingers in their direction. Even if we had those votes, it still probably wouldn't have made a difference. But all the same, I feel like we need to talk about this. If we are going to continue moving forward for future elections, we need to listen to all communities. That's what this conversation is about today. So, SocioLLogic, what are your thoughts about my assessment there?
I think you got it like head on. For me, it's not about the votes that went to the other side. It's honestly just a loss of votes. The fact that Michigan turned red in it hasn't gone red in 30 years or something like that, 50, 60, whatever it may be year, is just like that was the message. The message is like, hey, you don't own the vote. And it's not so much even just like the Muslim vote or the Arab vote. It was predominantly Detroit, right? Like Detroit kind of like either didn't vote and the people who were red voted. And that says something about the Democratic Party's ability to reach its constituents during this like time.
Absolutely. And I feel like that was a huge point for us, essentially. And I do think that a lot of it had to do with people just not participating. And it's kind of hard to say, like, can I really blame them, honestly? That's just like my personal opinion. Now, some people might say, oh, they're not talking points, though. It's true. There are people out there that said, listen, I can't support this. I mean, this is wrong. But anyway, we'll get to that, though. Now, you don't have to say where exactly you live, but can you because you and I live in the same state. Can you tell me about the overall demographic of the Muslim population, like in your neck of the woods? Well, not the woods, but like where you live at?
It's predominantly Lebanese, and then a lot of Yemeni, and then it tapers off. Like you get some Palestinian, you get some Jordanian, so on and so forth. It tapers down. I'd say it's like 70% Arab.
Okay. I remember, not to really change the subject, the last time I was actually in the middle of Dearborn, I was working for another trucking company. And it was like around breakfast time, and I could smell the fresh bakeries. Oh my God.
Yep.
That brought back so many memories.
Delicious food.
Oh, it brought back so many memories of like when I was in Iraq and stuff like that, because that's one thing I love, Middle Eastern food. So it just, the memories just came flooding back. I tell you that much. I love it. What can I say? I love it. But anyway, getting back to the topic. So after October the 7th kicked off, right? Now, I'm not going to ask your opinion about that because I feel like that's been like ad nauseum. Every single time this has been brought up, people are always asked to condemn what happened on October 7th, but then very rarely people on the Israeli side are asked to condemn what happens afterwards. So I'm not going to do that here. If that's okay.
That's fine.
So when the United States started sending direct aid, when this conflict first kicked off, and we saw like the shock and awe campaign, entire sections just getting leveled. What was the initial reaction, especially like in the Arab community where you live at, to the best of your knowledge? I mean, what would you say was the general feeling?
I mean, it was a big mix because as as horrific as what happened, like we all saw the horror, we see the terror. For us, I think there was this mix of like, holy shit, this is horrible. But then the other side is like, well, holy shit, now is going to be like, it's either going to be a war or at least a discussion, right? So it's like now we understood that we were very like quickly going to be put on the forefront and had to kind of defend any type of reaction that we had that wasn't outstandingly negative, because it instantly became like it was the paragliders, right? So you got a bunch of paragliding memes, and I can understand where people are like, that's in poor taste, but to our defense, it's like, well, the history speaks for itself. This wasn't the first attack. This isn't the first war. This isn't going to be the last as far as we see it. So it's just like, we now know that like this is a mark in history. This is a moment that we're all going to be talking about. And so we had to, I don't know, everyone kind of let their emotions go. Some people were, when I say excited, it's not that they were excited that the attack was happening. Like I said, it's more that like something is actually happening at the very least.
Certainly. And because like, seeing it firsthand experience, like it's especially in like in Arab cultures, like it's very expressive, like very very much so. Like
Yeah.
it's hard to describe though. Like I really wish I had a better way of putting it, but like when I've seen some like horrible things and like the way like especially like in the Middle East, like in Iraq, like I'd see people like mourning the death of a loved one. It's like people like me, yeah, I'll be like sad, I'll be crying, stuff like that. But it's amplified like tenfold. So I know it's very very expressive because like it's family members.
I think like, yeah, we're expressive, but then also I think like the issue is a lot of us are desensitized to like horrific incidents happening in that like area. So like for me, when I was in Lebanon in 2006 when there was the war between the small war between Israel and uh Lebanon, and so like as an American, I'm sitting over there and I'm like, well, there's bombs dropping. You can kind of hear them. You can kind of feel them. You have to flee. It's a weird feeling. But then, like, that was when I was 11. So, like, you get to now and it's like, look at this horrific thing that happened. And in my mind, I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of what happens there all the time. You just have cameras on it now. And so that's why I think the reaction was both, like, passionate in, like, defense of, like, Palestine, even though that was, like, a terrorist attack, right? We just knew what was going to come afterwards. And so, like, we were already kind of prepared and we already know like what we're dealing with.
Absolutely. I get that. I mean, I get it. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. So, now what was the reaction then, like as the months progressed and the more deaths that were occurring over there, like the more we saw like atrocity after atrocity, right? But more aid was continuing to be sent. Was there like a feeling of like, wow, that's a real slap in the face, especially for like, the Palestinian people that live in this country and they're just seeing this happen, because they more than likely there's people.
Yeah, like as an Arab American, it's just like I feel like, especially I come from Dearborn, I go to Arab majority cities or Muslim majority cities, and I see that they're very successful, right? I see that a lot of them participate in like self ownership. They own their own businesses. It's small businesses, right? They're like funding. I feel like they're paying their taxes. They're purchasing. They're consumers, whatever it may be. We're doing all this like stuff. We're participating in America, and I think we're very successful at being Americans, right? And then it just like when it comes down to, a war that happens, all of a sudden we get this whole the terrorist label happens. Now we have this whole like Islamophobia starts to become more pronounced, and it's it is disheartening as an American to just be like, well, why are we doing so well and we like participating so well? It's like, but you guys still see us in this like weird way, and you don't even give the aid or the proper like representation that we feel that we deserve.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it just has to do with like people not knowing or understanding. And like that's the thing that I've noticed is because like there was like a long time where I felt like hatred and anger because of like what I saw, like, but it was for all the wrong reasons, put it that way. And I regret that. Yeah. I regret my own indifference. And I try my best to like spread as much awareness as possible. Say, listen, this hatred is not going to get you anywhere. There's so much you need to learn about the culture. There's so much there. It's a wonderful thing too. But it's just like I feel like people just don't get it. They just see something on TV, but you can ask them like, well, have you ever actually met a Muslim family? It's like, no. Have you ever met a Muslim? No. Well, how can you make such an assertion on something that you've never experienced? It's like, oh, well, I see it on TV. It's like, well, shit. How would you feel if somebody said the same thing about you? I mean, would you accept that? Oh, well, that's different. I would never. Really? Okay.
I mean, I can't blame them, man. If all you like, it's Tyler the Creator said this. Is like if all you see on the news is like dogs, like rabid dogs are biting people, then you see clips of dogs biting people, and then like when you see a dog in the street, you're gonna be like, is he gonna bite me? Is it like So it's like to a certain extent, like I can't blame people for the opinions that they have, and I mean, not for nothing, through this year, we haven't had like the greatest representation. If you can like pick hyper specific moments, right, of people like doing the hail or whatever that may be, and or like holding up a swastika during these like protests, it's like you can pick these specific moments in time, and then those people ruin it for the entire group. Right, you go on Twitter and it's like the loudest voices just happen to be the most racist or the most like anti-American, and it's it doesn't do good for our side, but that's what gets infantilized in our like media today.
Absolutely.
So like I can't blame people when they're like, look, that's what they're saying. It's like, yeah,
It's what sells. It's not about what's true. It's about all about what sells, which I think is one of the biggest disservices that the mainstream media does. But you know, I don't want to get too off topic. So, now during the campaigns cycle, this last campaign cycle, did anyone from the Democratic Party, whether it be like LeVar Barnes, who is now stepping down from the Michigan Democratic Party chair, or like any other representative, come and speak to the communities like in Dearborn or in Arab communities, like to your knowledge?
honestly, as far as I saw in my little news cycle, it was Republicans that were coming in and talking.
Really?
And they were there was a lady. This was a couple years ago. And like she was Islamophobic, she was anti-hijab, whole spiel. And I mean, even she came and like met and talked with like our representatives, and they had a whole meeting. It was a whole spiel. But no, I don't recall anyone like coming in. I mean, Donald Trump came to Dearborn and came to a cafe.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, but no one big from the Democratic Party.
Really? So like, was there like ever any announcement or something like that, or did they ever like put it on social? Because like, you know, technology, like we have technology stuff like that. They usually put out big announcements and things like that. Was anything like it's like, hey, come meet Governor Tim Walz?
No,
Nobody, like not even Governor
No.
Richard Whitmer.
no, not that I recall. But also, I'm not huge in like the
Okay.
politics sphere. I'm more of an everyman. I did, SocioLLogic. I'm just more like what the people are saying. But like, no, I didn't notice it. But like, to be fair, I feel like we would have noticed it. There would have been a big roundup. You would have saw it all over the city of Dearborn page on Instagram. Like, but no one came in. No one talked. No one said anything. They kind of just seemed mute on the subject. I don't know if the Democratic Party knew how to come at this, because on one side it's like we want to show empathy to our like Arab and Muslim voters, but the other side it's like, well, we have APAC and the entire Jewish history. So like, how do you, other than staying silent, what do you do?
In a situation like that, now I mean, now you said like political spectrum, like not really like politics isn't like really a thing, but like, what would be a way of like, do we just like contact like a local leader or something like that? It's like, hey, listen, I'm from the Democratic Party. We want to come down and talk to the community. I mean, what would be a way to kind of get people's attention, essentially? Because and it doesn't even have to be during an election cycle. I mean, what could we do to get people's attention to come down and talk and like hear your concerns or something, like the concerns of the community?
It's really just like showing face, but also it's action, right? Like we don't want to just with Trump, we at least know what we're getting. We don't want to be lied to and pandered to. Like, we want like actual action if it's going to come. If you're going to come to our door and say like, hey, we feel, we empathize, we hear, we stand with your people, it's like, well, all right, show us. But like, just at least like reaching out, coming to the city, seeing how people live, like going to a restaurant, like just showing face would probably be the best action.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, it's a very fair assessment. I mean, it's just like, and I think you're 100% correct. Is like, talk is cheap. What are you gonna actually do? And I think like, you know, I don't know, like some kind of outreach is like, hey, listen, can we do some volunteer work with you guys? You know, show some face or something like that. I mean, that probably could be a step in the right direction. That's just what I'm wondering. So, so you've already mentioned like Donald Trump, but do you know of any other politicians that came to Dearborn to address the concerns? And like, if so, like, what did they say? I mean, did they like show like any empathy? It's like, hey, listen, we'll end these wars tomorrow or something like that. I mean, what did they say exactly?
Well, no one said anything. That's the thing, is like no one came, as far as I can tell. The only big person that came was like Donald Trump. And all we heard was that like, this was the problem with everything that came. If the Democratic Party could have said just one statement about Palestine and just leave out Israel, right? We would like, maybe there would be like a little bit of like solitude, but like there was nothing. It was every time it was like, the Palestinian people deserve their rights, but also Israel has to defend itself when we have to. It's like every single statement came with a but. And it's just like, well, never is there a statement to Israel that comes with a but. And that's what like we kind of sat here and felt.
Yeah, it's like, it's kind of like a fit. I was like, yeah, we support you, but it's just like, if like,
but like,
that's, I get that. I can understand how that could be frustrating. It's just like, he's like, I'm not racist, but just like the but, it was like, oh, here it comes, and the other shoe's about to drop. It's just, I get that.
And it's like it's horrible, like just sitting here. So this year honestly was really disheartening for me as like an American, right? I kind of feel like the political system has gotten it's pathetic. It's pathetic. I don't trust. When I say I don't trust anyone, like it used to be like, yeah, all politicians are liars, but it's like they're bad at it now. I feel like our politicians are more owned than ever, just like by a dollar, which is horrific. And then I feel like Americans are turning a blind eye. They're seeing all of it. We're seeing the dollars, and it's just like we still keep pushing. Like for Trump to have won, and like to win the second term, and I understand why he won. Look who he was running against. But like for him to have won in such an astounding way, for him to have gotten all the swing states, so on and so forth, it really, really speaks to like I think like how pathetic we see the system and how much like trust people can have in like an individual that they think is like at least this guy's different. You know, it's horrible. We're in a bad state.
Oh yeah, I'm a little concerned, but you know, I'm still gonna get up tomorrow morning. I'm still gonna go to work, and I'm gonna keep doing that. And I'm not gonna say the zombie apocalypse is gonna happen, but you know, if it does,
Yeah.
you know, be prepared, kind of deal. But yeah, I get it. It's just, it really is disheartening, but at the same time, it is what it is. I can't spend all my time just wallowing in misery. Like I got over after like the first 24 hours. Like I didn't get much sleep because I woke up in the middle of the night. It was like 1:30 in the morning. And I was like, ah, crap. And I looked at I was like, couldn't sleep that. But anyway, it is what it is. I mean, like there's nothing we can do about it now. We just gotta have to ride this thing out, basically. So, so when Kamala Harris lost the election and Donald Trump will be back in the White House, is there a feeling that there's gonna be like an end to like what's going on in Gaza, or do you think there's any politician out there that could actually put a stop to it? Or what do you think would actually put a stop to the damn thing?
It's not so much that I think Trump is going to do anything. I mean, everyone keeps saying Trump is an anti-war president, yada yada yada. I mean, I don't see him bringing any resolve. I don't think that's what we expected. We kind of see them as two sides of the boat of the same coin. This is where it's weird for me because Democrats and Republicans will fight tooth and nail about every single policy, and then like you get to Israel and same, like it's verbatim the same quote. So do I think any politician will be able to do anything? I don't know. You have two groups of people who are fighting over land, and we're in a modern day like land grab of war. Like I don't know how you resolve that. I don't know where you like right now. What is the resolve? Gaza has essentially been glassed, right? They got what, like, you know, everyone got what they wanted, and so like, what do? Do you tell these people, all right, well, cool, release the hostages, but don't do any more terrorism later? It's like, well, they're probably going to do terrorism later. What do you tell Israel? Hey, yeah, so just like be kind and accept, like in all these people's, like Israel isn't going to do anything to accept these people into their society. So like, what is the solution? I honestly don't know. I wish you could divvy it up into two states, right? I wish you could, but at this point, there is no Palestine to say, like, hey, let's do a two-state solution, because now it's got like they're not even called Palestinians anymore. They're called Gazans. And so like from my side, it's like, well, it's clear that one side like is winning, at least like in the political sphere here. And so it's like, what do we do? I don't know. It's a tough question, because as someone who's like, you pay your taxes, you're working here, you see your money going there. And with the way that Islamophobia has been growing in the UK, it's kind of making its way over here. We have a whole threat to the West. So personally, I don't see a solution there. And the only thing I'm seeing brewing is like a micro, not Holocaust, but like there seems to be a huge push to get Muslims or Islam out of the countries. And it's like, I don't know how you do that without kind of doing what happened with the Jews. It doesn't have to be gas chambers, but how do you mass deport like a religious group?
Oh yeah. And you know, when people say, oh, if the hostage gets released, the world will be over tomorrow. And it's like, considering the fact that like the families of the hostages said they had a hostage negotiator that even said that they have a deal, and Netanyahu said, nah. So they could have had the hostages after the attack took place. But the thing is, and people are like, oh, well, if they just release the hostages, everyone's going to go back to peace and harmony. No, that's wishful thinking, because first things first, when people say, oh, well, it's just Hamas we're after. Well, you haven't been killing just Hamas. You've been killing like men, women, and children. And the children that didn't die, they're going to remember what happened. And do you think they're just going to like say, bygones be bygones? No, it's not going to be bygones be bygones, because, and here's the thing, I'm not saying I support Hamas, but Hamas is going to tell them, like, listen, this is what they did. This is what they did to you guys. And they took away your family. And now we can help you get revenge.
They took away your home. They took away your childhood.
We can help you get revenge. They're going to jump on that opportunity, essentially. And this is what people don't get. The cycle never ends.
Yeah, it keeps perpetuating.
It really is.
And it's just like, especially after this year, like the fact that I have to sit here and think, because on Twitch you can't even say Zionist anymore.
Really?
In terms of it gets you banned. It can get you banned. It can get you at least suspended. Everything has become anti-Semitism, and like there is anti-Semitism happening. I understand that completely, but it's just like in this country we've gotten to the point where like it feels like AIPAC has invested so much into our politicians and so much into like our media at this point that like you can't really do or say anything, and none of these politicians are willing to fight against I guess that I just don't understand why. I don't understand the allyship. I understand, like, if anything, they should be listening to us. If they are our ally, we are the ones who are giving them X amount of money. We're doing this. Like, they shouldn't be able to do the things that they do, but we support it. So it's kind of like that weird dynamic. So like it's just strange. What's gonna happen over there? What's gonna happen over here? It's very strange.
Oh yeah, and that's just the thing. It's like I didn't even know like Twitch wouldn't even let you say Zionist. That's insane, because I remember there was a debate that happened years ago. It was where Mehdi Hassan was talking about how anti-Zionism does not equal anti-Semitism, and he made some. I mean, that dude is a beast. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. That dude's the best debater I've ever seen. But he made a lot of really good arguments. It's like, you mean to tell me that all these other, like people that served in the Israeli military, people that are Israeli citizens, they say that Zionism is, being anti-Zionist is not anti-Semitic. I mean, it's like, you mean to tell me that they're anti-Semitic? It's just like, where's the logic there? But there isn't any. And I think it's just sometimes people get like, or like, it's like they're touching the hot plate and they just don't know how to approach the issue, really. I mean, there's a way to get to the hot pan. You just got to grab it by the handle, don't grab the damn plate, but go ahead.
Yeah. And it's just like the conversation around everything becoming so suppressed. Like in America, the fact that we had an anti-BDS law like movement, like the fact that we said, hey, there was a law that said you cannot boycott Israeli products, but you could boycott American products. You can boycott any other country. That is strange. That is a strange thing. And it's not so much that it's like, oh my God, Jewish supremacy. It's just like, this is America. Don't tell us what we can and can't do. Like, you would listen to us. We do not listen to you. That's the whole agreement here. And it's just like this year was just like, is that the agreement? What's the agreement that we have going on?
Yeah, it's
like, how are we going to claim Greenland and Canada and the Gulf of America? How are we meant to do this? And yet, one little country has a lot of control over us. It's weird. It's strange.
It really is insane. And like the whole concept of Canada Greenland, I can't even get into that, right? That's just so beyond ridiculous. So again, I didn't really want to make this a focus on Donald Trump, but like, how do you feel like he is going to be with the Muslim community? Like, the people he's going to bring into his administration. Do you think it's going to be more of the same? Do you think there's going to be a little bit more? And listen, I'm not trying to victimize the Muslim community, but it's like some people have that concern. But some people think, just hot air. He's not going to do anything. I mean,
I think Trump talks a big game, and then he just exaggerates what he wants done. So when he says, like, we're going to get these Muslims out of here and the pro-terrorist sympathizers out of here, I think he's kind of just saying, like, hey, we need to kind of tone down what's going on. I don't think he's going to do shit. Honestly, I don't think he's going to do anything. If anything, I do. The hope would be that like he sees that Michigan turned red. He looks at Dearborn. He goes, they didn't vote for Kamala. A lot of them did kind of vote for me. And he recognizes like, all right, they play the capitalism game. So let's leave these ones alone, because they're like, I think he's even stated that there's a difference between the Muslims in America and the Muslims like over in the UK. And I think there's a big like notion to that. But I think it's like the UK fucked themselves over by creating a refugee crisis in their fucking own country that we don't necessarily have here. We have a lot of immigrants here that like choose to come here, want to do the American thing, want to assimilate, want to play the game. They just want to keep their culture. Because if you go to Dearborn, it is, well, like I said, everything is a small business, but it's kind of like there's Arab writing everywhere. A lot of people kind of stick true to their language and their culture. We have the largest mosque, so on and so forth. And I don't know, even with the protests and everything we're having, I think it's like, it'd be a bad sign if Trump did come. He did speak to our people. He didn't back off. He did say like Israel needs to defend itself, right? He did like he was forthright, but I don't think he's afraid, and I think he's willing to have conversations with the people to where it's like you can get him to understand like, hey, we're at least capitalists and we're playing the game here, which is that's his superpower, is he's able to just go everywhere and just be like, all right. Okay, I mean, this is what I think, but I see where you guys think, and we'll see what we can do. It's he plays every man real good.
Okay, I mean that's fair. I mean, what about like some of his supporters though? Like especially some of the Christian nationalists. And we're not talking about like the people in his administration. We're not talking about the people in Congress. We're talking about the everyday average American, like the one that just regurgitates everything that he says, that parrots what he says. Like you see them every single day. They got the Trump bumper stickers, the giant MAGA flags, stuff like that. Like, what about those people? Do you think there's like a disconnect there, or do you think it's gonna be like more of the same for there? Are they gonna follow his lead?
It's gonna be more, yeah. For it's like more of the same. So like we've had people come like and they drive the Trump trucks, or like they come with the Israeli flag and they drive it through Dearborn, and like I can only speak for Dearborn. People have tried to like kind of fuck with our shit, but time and time again, it's like we don't care, because we're kind of insulated in the sense that like we only really care about like what's going on in our community, and as long as like we're all successful, it's like we kind of feel like you can't tell us anything. Mm-hmm. Like 9 times out of 10, I've had this like talk about like Islam and people got to get out of here, and the Arabs. I'm like, brother, like everyone in Dearborn's better at being American than you. So like I don't understand this whole talk. You can come talk all your shit, but be a better American than us. Own your own businesses, build up your own communities. How come we don't have slums? How come the rates of like crime are low here? We do fine. Mm-hmm. It's like you want us out, but like you can't even control your own shit. So like, yeah, it'll be more of the same. You'll have a lot of Christian nationalists that'll talk. You're gonna see more conversation. You're gonna see a lot more debate on like, is Islam a threat to the West? And you're gonna see a lot of Arabs and Muslims kind of come in and defend themselves pretty well.
And the thing you definitely don't want, and I'm just like, I'm not saying this is what would happen, but you also don't want a bunch of people coming down and saying, we are here to protect you. We are here. You don't need any.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Any saviors coming into your community. I mean, like, you just want conversation. No. That's it. Just want to have like, like discussions like you and I are having like right now. I mean, that's.
Yeah. And with the advent of social media, we have a lot of strong voices. Between me on TikTok, like, and even within ourselves, like I've had debates with people within Dearborn who are also growing and like having conversations and getting our name out there. It's all about representation. It's all about the willingness to have the conversation. Just give us the platform.
Sure.
Right. But if you plug your ears when we're talking, right, like the DNC did, it's not a good look, and it doesn't work anymore, because we have social media and our voices are being heard regardless of like what you want.
Certainly. Do you feel like sometimes like certain like politicians or certain community people are like I kind of talk down to the community, or just like, again, they just don't talk about what they do?
No, what do you mean? I'm sorry. I thought you were
just talk down to you guys. Like, well, listen, we know what's best for you guys. We're here for your best interest, kind of deal. Like, is there like, again, it's that like the whole savior complex? I'm like, do you think some people do that? Like, I'm talking people that don't live within Dearborn. We're talking about like those on the outside. It's like, hey, listen, we've got your best interest in mind. We know what's best for you, kind of deal. I mean, do some people kind of like undermine you guys and make you think like, well, wait a second, I'm doing pretty good by myself. I mean, I didn't call you helping.
I've never noticed that. The only thing I noticed was like for the DNC for Kamala, when the people were protesting, she came to Detroit. You guys, the DNC came to Detroit. How did you not prepare for a pro-Palestinian like outcry during your speech? For you to like the issue, it's not so much that they talk down to us and they tell us that like, hey, we have your best interests at heart. We feel like a lot of people are telling us, hey, shut up. We don't want to hear what you have to say. We know you guys are doing your own thing, but just like shut up about it. Because like for her to like kind of like back down and be like, hey, do you want Donald Trump to win? This is how Trump wins. That's not how Trump wins. Your response is how Trump wins when you tell people to silence themselves. How about just listen? Don't plug your ears when you walk out. That's kind of what we're hearing, because it's like our mayor is doing great. Mayor Hammoud, he's doing amazing. Right? He's on social media, he's talking, he's well spoken, the whole spiel. So it's like there's nothing anyone can tell us. No one can tell us that like, hey, we got you. We got us. Now we need you to listen to us. We kind of like at this point it's like we deserve our seat at the big boy table.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember like him and I think it's Keith Ellison, I think it was. They were on Mehdi Hassan's platform. They were talking about like, so Keith Ellison said why he was voting for Harris, but the mayor of Dearborn said he wasn't voting for Harris and he was voting for Trump. And they both made very sound arguments, honestly. Like the thing, and again, it's just like, you know, I could disagree with the mayor, but it's just like I get where he's coming from, and it's just, and I think that again, it's just kind of like sometimes I feel like some people don't want to hear it because it's an uncomfortable truth, and that is a really tough pill to swallow sometimes. But you know, sometimes you got to be uncomfortable. Sometimes you got to be told. I mean, it's not even like it's so much. It's the truth, and sometimes you got to be told what's going on, and if it makes you uncomfortable, maybe you should listen more often. Maybe that's just my opinion. I mean, not talking about you. I'm talking about like those that like. Yeah,
I think for us it was we've dealt with all the bullshit we see. Once again, the politicians in our eyes for Dearborn is like same side, both or two sides, one coin. So it's like we kind of I think Dearborn understands like, hey, we can deal with 4 years of Trump. It's not going to make or break us. We play by a little bit of different rules, but at the end of the day, like, what's the real tragedy that's going to happen? We already have the worst of what's happening in the Middle East, and you can't really do much to us here. So like we can deal with 4 years of Trump. Can the Democratic Party deal with the loss to Trump? And like, is this the moment where you finally like take a look back and be like, oh shit, like now maybe it's time to regroup? And that's kind of what I think was the hope out of Dearborn, maybe even out of all the swing states, was like, hey, like the Democratic Party is the party of progress, and I would vote Democrat every single time. I just didn't vote this year. The Democratic Party is but we focused way too much on progress. We kind of needed to slow down. We went too far too fast, and we got in way over our heads when we kind of like we focused on really, really fringe groups, and I don't think we talked to like average Americans as much as we needed to.
And I was actually going to ask you about like, would you consider voting Democrat in future elections, or have they lost your vote? But it sounds like you said yes, but they just
I'd vote Democrat. I mean, listen, if the Republicans come with like a sane, competent, like if we get back to real presidents, you know, and they get a sane guy, it's really all up to who the Democrats tout up. If we get Kamala again, I can tell you right now, no one's going Kamala. I don't care what Trump does for the next 4 years. They're just not going to vote for her. Man, it sucks that we need someone like a little bit cool, a little bit young, and just a little bit just in touch with like what the people. We don't need someone like kissing up to celebrities. No one listens to celebrities anymore.
Was a big. I mean, people thought, oh yeah, we got the celebrity, but the thing is like nobody really cares about it. It looks cool and all, but the thing is like you got to have the average person up there as well, because that can sell. That just doesn't sell, but it just speaks volumes and stuff like that, because a celebrity is going to say whatever they want, whatever you pay them to. Like that's what they get paid to entertain, essentially. So they'll say whatever.
Exactly.
And I think that there's a lot of merit to that, essentially, because do you watch Kyle Kalinske at all? Secular Talk?
Mhm.
He makes a lot of great points too. But he says he's afraid that like the Democratic Party is going to make all the wrong choices and all the wrong changes. Like they're going to say, "Wow, the
Yeah.
Republicans are really hawkish on this. Maybe we need to be more hawkish on this." It's like, no, don't do that. Don't
No.
just stick to progressive policies like healthcare for all, fair wage, paid family leave, stuff like that, free school lunches across. Like that's the stuff that you win people over with. And I think he's got a great point there. I mean,
So I kind of agree. Okay, so like I don't know, are you on TikTok?
yeah.
Like, do you use TikTok like avidly or no?
Not as avidly as I used to. I got some
Yeah.
videos on there though.
Okay, so I'm not huge, a little 25,000 followers, but like I use TikTok. I use the app. I interact. I like to know what's going on with like the Gen Z. I'm a millennial. I'm 33 years old. 32, turning 33. There was a huge movement when TikTok became popular, where all the celebrities came on and tried to do the Instagram thing, where they tried to join the app and interact and gain a following. And there was a movement on TikTok that literally was like, "Hey, unfollow and block all celebrities. What we don't want celebrities on this app. This app is meant for the average person to come here in their fucking shitty bedroom and just talk and like do whatever it is." So when the Democratic Party is running like for election, you have what was it, like 9 months for Kamala? A year?
But she wasn't even run for a year.
9 months.
It was like
Yeah.
so
4
like 5 months or something like that.
4 or 5 months. When the only thing she knew to do was get the celebrities to endorse her. Now you have a couple billion people, or a couple million, 100 million people, 150 million people on TikTok who are saying like, "Hey, we don't want to follow celebrities at all anymore." You have everyone kind of switching to a social media influencer. Like, these are the new celebrities. These are the people that we're following. These are the people that we're listening to. She doesn't do Joe Rogan. She doesn't do any small time podcast. She just goes to like basic, like big media. When then you have Trump, who goes to the Nelk Boys. Trump's with fucking what's his name? Theo Vaughn. He's with Joe Rogan. He's doing the internet thing, right? The internet is where you come to win. The internet is where you're going to round up your people, because it's the young people, the 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are just doom scrolling all day. These are the people that like you rounded up Trump, like who rounded up for Trump. Like the Nelk Boys being like Aiden Ross hanging out with Trump, XQC hanging out with Trump, whatever. Maybe this is like, these are people with massive followings of like, yeah, maybe some of them are 15, but you have a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds that are following these guys. And it's like, they humanized Trump, whereas Kamala just didn't get humanized at all. We need a human politician.
I get you.
Trump became very human this political cycle.
Yeah, I can definitely, because like independent media is where it's at. It really is, because that's where everybody is like watching. Like, for example, like the Brian Tyler Cohen's that's who I watch.
Yep.
Pondering Politics. I watch guys like them all the time, and because I like the information they put out. Like I think Kyle Kalinske is the best. Mehdi Hassan, I think that like if he ever moderated a debate, it would be ghastly for the participants, because it doesn't matter. Democrat, Republican, he holds their feet to the fire, and I love that about him. Like I don't know how many videos of his I've watched. I've listened to his book multiple times, but it's just because he doesn't take BS answers. And I love that too. And like I wish more people were like him. But the thing is, like, our mainstream media outlets are just so rehearsed and stuff. They're like, I just don't think there's any like, okay, so if CNN puts out a story, I research it, and if it's true, then yes, I'll give it credence. But I check everything. Yeah. Like, I don't just take anything. I have to verify it first, because I've made that mistake so many times. So like, I know we're getting off topic a little bit, but it's just, you're making a lot of really good points about this, and it's just like, I think that she just listened to the wrong people when they helped her with their PR campaign, and it's just like, the celebrities are great at first, but you got to get the regular people involved. You got to get the regular Joes, because and it's like, I don't know if you'd seen me on Lethe's panel, or like Lethe and I did a bit this last Wednesday. I was talking about like how one of the things that really kind of hurt her, it's one thing to have Liz Cheney on because Liz Cheney stood against Donald Trump for January 6th, but Dick Cheney, that was a bad move, because I don't like Dick Cheney. I respect the fact that he said, no, this is wrong, Donald Trump, but I don't like Dick Cheney. If she would have, thank you for your endorsement, that's it. But she focused on it so much. It's like, oh,
puts a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths who have this opinion of him. It's like you linked up with the wrong people.
And oh yeah, that's even worse.
I mean,
that's even worse.
In the era of like Andrew Tate, right? It's like you needed to combat that. You needed to combat internet sensationalism, and even Trump's bad sound bites make him look good, right? When Trump says they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, then it gets turned into a song meme that people are like using around as like a joke. Even those sound bites work for him. It's like he knows how to work it, and it's that's what the Democratic Party needs. Like, look at what's happening in Canada. Homeboy Pierre, whatever, the dude that eats the apple.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, so Trudeau drops out, but there's this guy who's running, and it's like when he was doing an interview, he's eating an apple. He's just cool. He's calm. He's kind of cocky, and it's like that's like their I don't know how the fucking shit works up there, but he's like their Republican, whatever. And it's the average person needs that, especially in America. Right, I think the problem with the Democratic Party that happened is that like we looked at men and we kind of shamed them for the toxic masculinity, then the whole spiel, and like the progressive dudes kind of came in, they were like all nice and like it's like but you need, as Americans, you need a little bit of that toxicity. You need to be like kind of hyper cocky, hyper confident. We tout that. That is part of like what being an American is. And so when you ostracize all of those people, right? And like the best of it is like a Hassan Piker who's like, you know, kind of a himbo. But there aren't many dudes that are like Hassan. When we pushed away all of the other people, the Nelk boy, the bros types, it's I think that was a bad look for us too. We need to kind of as the Democrats and as the progressive need to understand that like not everyone is going to be progressive, and some of the shit that is like a little bit traditional, just like it's not that it has so much merit, but that is the way people, that is the life that people like live. That is part of the tradition, is part of life. Not everything can be progress. So we need to find that balance, which is why I think we've gone we've gone too far too fast. We need to slow down and kind of get back to the middle a little bit.
I mean, hell, you could be like a Theodore Roosevelt progressive. That guy was hella progressive, like way ahead of his time. Like talked about like fair wages and good working conditions. Bernie Sanders didn't come up with that. Theodore Roosevelt did. And this is in the early 1900s when he said these things. So, yeah.
Bernie. We got robbed of Bernie too, and I think that put a bad taste in our mouths for a long time, to like get robbed of Bernie, get told that Biden is running, and then get thrown Kamala. You know, it's just like if they would have thrown Bernie, I don't know that he would have won. But I feel like more Democrats would have been like amped up to vote.
Yeah, probably, quite possibly. So what should I think you've already talked about this, but we can hit on it again. What's the Democratic Party do, in your opinion, to bring back good faith to the Muslim community in places like Dearborn? I think you already pretty much said it. Just, hey, come on out.
Yeah, show some faith.
Show some face and just like get involved and like find out what kind of a community events are going on down there. You know, don't just come down with empty promises. Actually come down and like start talking. I mean, you know,
invite us to the table. Like just have us at the table, like have the conversation with us. If you don't want to come here, at least have us there.
Yeah. That's 100% completely fair. I mean, that's the best way to get these things started, because like one of the things I actually want to start doing is have you ever heard of Progressive Democrats of America? It's an organization where basically they have Zoom calls every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what it is they just have all progressive Democrats that come on, and they just like we had Nina Turner on Sunday. Last week it was Congressman Ro Khanna and Nina Turner came on to talk about what's going on in the Progressive Party. Really good stuff. Well, I actually want to start a Michigan chapter for stuff like that. And I want to get connected with all the different Democrats and progressive Democrats all across the state of Michigan. But that's a conversation for another time though. So, but I want to like network as much as possible. So, so basically, like, what should the Democratic Party do in the future for all communities, do you think, like, to keep good faith with them? Just continue to just show up and just, like, not just cast us off to the side, basically, or just...
We need more people that are in touch. I don't think you can... So, like, right now, the biggest Democratic voices, at least, like, in the spheres that I'm seeing, are, like, Destiny and Hassan. And I feel like both are two versions of the extremes in terms of the Democratic Party, right? You have you need people who are in touch with the common everyday man. You can't have these rich streamers and be the voices, and you can't have like your politicians not knowing what the fuck, like they have to have their fingers on the pulse. I think that right now for the next 4 years, if the Democratic Party just takes the time, gets on the internet, sees what people are saying, goes through like comments, like learns internet culture, gets ingrained with like the younger like demographic of people, and they listen to them, right? And they actually hear what they have to say, and they don't just like outcast it. Don't any like if you listen to the people who are to the center right of you, I promise they are more likely to vote left for more progressive policies if you just like listen to them instead of just saying like, ew, you're toxic, I don't want to hear you. It's time to get back to the middle. So I think like right now what the Democratic Party should do is, we already have the progressives. We already know that's like the end goal. It's like we want progress, we want to change, we want things. Let's get back to the middle real quick, build up our base, and then can bring them over to the side. Take a 4-year like plan to just build the base.
And that's one thing I talked about with Lethe actually on Wednesday. It's like sometimes the left is its own worst enemy, because like you know how many times I've been called like not a true Democrat because like when Biden first got into office and they were picking a new speaker and Nancy Pelosi got the speakership, I was like, I'm not okay with that, really. I mean, I don't have anything personal against Nancy Pelosi, but she's been there for so long. And it's like, and I have a lot of issues with her, like not personally, but like some of the legislative decisions and like the way she's like conducted business, right? But like, I was told I'm not a true Democrat for that. And I was like, no, I have a personal opinion. Like, just on Saturday, I was talking with a bunch of red pillars and I said, I'm not a fan of Gavin Newsom. And they're like, oh my God, they started jumping all over. It's like, well, there's reasons for that. I have like legitimate reasons why I'm not a fan of Gavin Newsom. If he ran for president, I would swallow that bitter pill, but I'm not a fan of it because there are like some things that I feel like he's done wrong, something he's done right. But the thing is, like, it's okay to be critical of people on your side of the aisle, but it's just like the question is, are they listening? And I think like listening is more important than talking. And I know I said I was going to do a lot more listening in this conversation, but it's just like, I when I get into a conversation,
we have a good banter.
Yeah, like
yeah, like for me, it's something I learned. Okay, so when I did TikTok, I kind of just wanted to try the social media thing. I tried it for a year. I gained 25,000 followers. I didn't try that hard. I didn't do anything that crazy. But what I noticed was there was different types of growth. You had people that were doing the trends or doing the like sensational shit, and then if they found something that went viral, they'd kind of repeat that and they'd build that audience of like sensationalism. Whereas like I built an audience of like a strong core base. People liked what I had to say. It was a slow growing build. I think what happened with like the Progressive Party is that we realized that we can get big boosts from the fringes, and if we can go viral, right? Like, and we kept doing the trends. We kept going viral. And we forgot about like the core following, so that when we had to like swap, right? So like we as progressives, we built up Biden, we got switched, and the core didn't feel like the core felt like left out. Whereas like for me, like I haven't made a video in a year on TikTok. I've only lost 1,300 followers.
Wow.
And it's like my core is still there. Because it was a slow grow. I didn't focus on the fringe. I didn't focus on the sensational. I didn't focus on the viral. And I think that's like my issue with the Democratic Party is we focused on the viral, and that's not a strong enough like core. You don't have a strong enough core just because you have a big outreach.
Yeah, that's such a good point, honestly. And I actually got a meeting this week with my county Democratic Party, and that's a good thing to bring up, honestly. And like I said, I mean, it's good to have had conversations like this because, I brought it up earlier. Actually, no, not this year, but like last year, when the election campaign was kicking off. Like I was actually asking, has anybody reached out to any of these communities? Like, and I really didn't get much of an answer. Like one guy says, yeah, we've reached out to them and we've had conversations. Like, okay, cool. But it's like, but then what?
Where are they?
But like, what happened afterwards? And it's just like, one gentleman I know, he's especially busy and he's only one person, so he can't do everything at once, which I get. But I just wonder, what else can be done? Like, what kind of conversations can we have, essentially? And I think that's like the most important thing. And like,
Yeah, like for us, it was like for Mayor Hamoudi. I see him. So we've had mayors in Dearborn before. Didn't really like know of them. Didn't really hear of them. Then this guy comes in. He's at every fucking opening. He's in restaurants. He's online. He's doing every day. He does a mayor minute, which is like he talks about the policies that he wants to implement or like the issues that are happening. He like addresses like he talks to people. He's in, and so it's like that's what a politician is supposed to do, right? At least that's like for Dearborn, for Arabs, like that's what we think. Like that, your politician is supposed to be in your fucking town. You're supposed to be in your community. So like, yeah, when we like Gretchen Whitmer for all the faults that she has, right? Like, not for nothing, she knows how to be in touch with her community. When you know GMC Cash gave her the buffs and she put on the buffs and she was Big Gretchen. There was a whole thing, and it's like, and even with all her faults, I feel like a lot of Michiganders still round up and root around Gretchen Whitmer. And so it's like, do that kind of shit where it's like the community feels like they have access to you. The community feels like they know you, even though it's just a personality that you're putting out. We like, you know, you got to do that. People feel like they know Trump. No one knew Kamala.
Optics is everything. Like, and people really underestimate that. People undervalue that, but that's such an important factor there. And it's just, I also think that like it also helps that if you're genuine and not just putting on a facade, really. But like that, I think that's like one of my things. Like I believe in being a genuine person and not just putting on a show. Like I believe in like follow through, because you know it's just if because I feel like if somebody was to come to like my neck of the woods and they say we're gonna do this and they don't do it, I'm gonna like wonder, okay, this person didn't follow through. Why should I vote for this person again? I mean, it's just, it's things like that that I have to take into consideration. So it's not just like a one-stop shop and then just kind of move on about the day. Like campaign season, when things start getting heated up, it's a different story. But like, start now. Start the campaigning now. Like, start building relations, start building networks now and stuff like that. I think that's really important. So, yeah.
Yeah, don't wait till campaign year. Don't wait till campaign year and then, or election year and then come to me and try to buy the vote. Like, you know, you got to earn the vote.
Yep.
The vote isn't just given just because. Like, you got to earn the vote. We want to listen. I tell this, and this is specifically for the like the Arab Muslim. Arabs and Muslims want to vote conservative. Okay, like their values lie more with the conservatives than it ever did with the progressives. But we're willing to vote with the Democrats and the progressives because we understand that like when it comes to the Republican Party, there's a lot of racism, they're not going to give us the things that we want, and they promise all these financial goods that end up not supporting us. So we understand this, and we're more willing to vote Democrat than conservative for these reasons, or Republican for these reasons. It's just like you can't lose us like that. We're like there is a large portion that wants to vote conservative, they just don't.
Yeah, that's a.
And so, like, you don't want to lose that.
Absolutely. So, but wow, this is a really good conversation. I really do appreciate the time that you give me. It's given me a lot of insight, and I just, and I'm not just using that as a strategy, but it's just like, I just want to kind of, I don't want to see what just somebody like read what somebody says on the internet. I actually want to have a discussion with like, what is the atmosphere? What is it that, the lessons learned right here? And I just hope that more people take stuff like this seriously into consideration, and not just for political purposes, but because, we all live in the same state. This is a community as well. And like I said, I mean, I feel like we could do better, like, especially when it comes to the networking, find out what went right.
Yeah, these conversations matter.
Absolutely.
These conversations definitely matter, and that's why I do appreciate the panels and the people that host the panels, because it does connect you to people and it allows for the network to build. So I really did appreciate this conversation. It was great.
And I definitely appreciate your time, dude. I mean, this really meant a great deal to me, and I definitely got to chop this up, and I'll upload it to my YouTube. So did you have any closing thoughts before we concluded?
Honestly, just more conversations. If there's ever a time where you have any questions and you want to reach out, or if there's a panel you want me on, I'm always open to have these discussions, and thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely. I haven't done any, I haven't hosted panels in quite some time, but I would like to start doing that here in the near future. But yeah, I will definitely keep you in mind. And if you start hosting panels, you know where to find me though. So, but yeah, like one of these days though, man, I'll have to invite you up this way, and we'll just like hang out or something like this.
Yes, sir.
But hey, man.
Absolutely.
Again, I really do appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will definitely be in contact, my friend. You take care now.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night, man.